Welcome back to Black Bulb Podcast. Today we got Alex Moan and me, Ben Ferguson, as usual. Nick behind the cameras. Thanks as always, Nick. Today we were going to talk about all things online marketing strategy. A common topic on here, but one we feel like cannot be touched on enough.
So I think like when people are promoting a brand, that you got to treat every platform a little bit differently. Because I recently had that photo project where I took the photos of the people, integrated the text, and I thought it looked really good, and I used that for Instagram. I also put it onto Facebook and then brought a little bit of story behind it. And then on LinkedIn, I talk about how it relates to entrepreneurship. That's like different treatment for all different platforms, but it's all true. Like every story behind it was relevant and related to that audience. So I'm just kind of like bringing that up. And like, what do you think about that?
I think there's a lot of different ways to market. And like, what stories did you have behind the stuff that you were
The stories
showing?
behind the photo project was like strength behind pushing through and pushing the boundaries, and how you can exhaust yourself, you can be tired, but you need to like figure out how to get past that. And I think that stands true between all artists, all entrepreneurs, and it's something that like I personally related to as well. So I thought it was relevant.
Yeah, definitely. How would you apply that to marketing? Like, just kind of doing everything you can do.
That's all exposure. I mean, like, you got to put it out there, and you got to make sure that it relates to that audience. So the LinkedIn audience, it saw it in a different way, or it related to them in a different way than it does to people on Instagram. So I'll use like another example. This nutrition company that we're doing work for, we have like the photos again for Instagram. They're going to push a Facebook content strategy where it'll be stories that'll be relevant to their audience. But then also going back to LinkedIn, we're going to talk about how we strategize that plan as well, because it is a good strategy and we think it'll benefit anyone else who is interested in promoting a nutrition brand too.
So, but you guys got to hit all angles.
That I think is doing it.
Yeah. Well, isn't there kind of like an infinite number of angles? I mean, like, can you hit all angles? I mean, really?
Well, I guess we're not hitting every angle, but I think they're the most appropriate. For the platform, at least. For nutrition? Yeah.
Well, who cares? So the people who care about nutrition, what platforms are they using? Have you guys looked into that?
I think those people are on all three.
Instagram for sure. Instagram's probably the number one.
And I think like LinkedIn it would be surprising because if you talk about their marketing strategy, people on LinkedIn people go there for that kind of stuff. They're going to be curious about it. They're going to click the articles, and I think it'll work really well.
Well, if people go on LinkedIn for nutrition stuff?
No. For the strategy behind this business's marketing.
Got it. So you mean just in general or specifically for this business?
Specifically for this business.
Your guys are posting what the
we're
going to
talk about like how we approached promoting this in a business term.
For their LinkedIn or for Black Bulb's LinkedIn or what?
Theirs.
For theirs. What's the goal behind that? Why are you guys posting that stuff?
To spark interest about how they're doing it in a different way.
Okay. What's the different way? Like, what's the meat of it? Or or do we need to wait?
You guys will wait to see it. You'll see it. It's
okay,
being made right now, so I guess if I talk all about it. But I think it is going to be a cool way to hit that LinkedIn audience. And not a lot of people do it that way. I feel like a lot of people they keep their secrets like way too close. But I mean, if you're on LinkedIn, that's not going to be giving away the secrets of this nutrition company anyways. People go there for strategy, and I think that is strategy.
What do you mean? What strategy?
How you promote this nutrition company.
Okay, yeah. No, yeah, definitely.
So how would you say people do it in the music world?
Dude, in the music world, the strategy is basically just throw it in wherever you can. Have it play when people aren't expecting it to play, so that it's kind of everywhere. Also, there's a lot of the just kind of groundwork, word of mouth in the music world still. And that tends to be where music spreads kind of no matter what. But, no matter
don't you think everyone's trying to be viral? Everyone's trying to put something on YouTube and like find success.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you know what? Yeah, there's always been the viral music, and there is the YouTube has made, I feel like, created a separation between the viral music that is just for purely viral and the viral music that had more hustle behind it. Because like the SoundCloud guys had a little bit more hustle. They kind of made it by hustling. They may have been hustling electronically, but they're still hustling. Whereas like the YouTube people, I don't know how much they're hustling, but they're creating this like gimmick that's just kind of entertaining to no matter who's watching it. You know, like I don't know, there's some young woman who just sings songs really blandly with like her sweatshirt on and just looks weird or something like that, and she's got, you know, like millions of views and stuff like that, right? And she just like sits there and just like, I am Claro, I do this. Like she's just barely saying it. Like it honestly sounds exactly like that, and has this like really simple beat behind it. So this went viral. This is
the most hipster shit I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's extremely hipster for sure. God. Yeah, so according to Nick, it took a long time for it to get big, but that happens with a lot of viral stuff.
I think that's everything. Everything, no matter what kind of strategy you have, it can still be bad as long as you're consistent. It will work eventually.
Yeah, if you genuinely persevere and learn from your mistakes and keep improving every day, you know, you will definitely. I don't see how you cannot. When Nick and I had the Forgotten Archetype, that was how we got the Forgotten Archetype out there. We just bugged the crap out of everyone on MySpace. Mm-hmm. And honestly, when we stopped bugging people, it stopped growing quite as fast. Yeah, you know, that's the best way to do it. You just keep getting your name out there as much as you can, and that's how the SoundCloud stuff works too. But with music, it's kind of like, you know, with music and a lot of these content things, you kind of listen to it for 1 second or you know 30 seconds max, and you kind of figure out whether you like it or not.
What are your thoughts on SoundCloud right now,
dude? SoundCloud is still my favorite platform for music personally. It has been for years and still is. But that's because it's just so open source, basically. You know, it's just so free and open, and there's not really another community. There's no other website like that, and the music community needs that desperately. And I just love it, and I want SoundCloud to keep being what it is forever. And like, I don't care about listening to a few ads every once in a while. Like Pandora,
it always starts off as a couple ads every once in a while.
But it's been years of that. Like they haven't like cranked it up. They've been making enough money. Their plans are a little expensive, in my opinion, and I think that's kind of maybe where they're getting their money because people rely on their plans so much that they're just like, all right, we'll just charge a few extra bucks and kind of scrape up there, and they have the ads. And then if you don't want the ads, you can just pay for Go.
Is there anything else creeping in that might be better or up and coming?
Not that I know of.
What about, have you ever experimented with Vero?
No,
I don't think so. I'm not educated enough on it to speak about it, but I'm just curious.
No, I haven't. I've experimented with Splice, and Splice is cool, but that's really a producer thing. It's not a consumer thing, and it is cool because it's this whole own little world of just producers just doing their own thing, and like you see how much producers like to listen to each other, and you're like, whoa, there's so many listens, and then you wonder if like on SoundCloud, how many people listening to SoundCloud are just musicians themselves.
Well, it was really interesting.
Probably a crazy amount.
The thing about Splice for people who don't know is like you can literally see the layers of the music that like come in.
Yeah,
and I almost wonder if like, what if you could have like Photoshop. Sorry, your hats are gonna fall off. I almost wondered, what if they had something like that for photographers with Photoshop, where you could see the layers, you couldn't edit them, but you could see which treatment they decided to edit with. Because there's always like 20, sometimes like just a shitload of layers in Photoshop. If you actually see like, oh, they did brightness, they clustered those up, they did like exposure change, you know, just little simple things like, oh, they did a little color shift. You know, yeah, I feel like people would find that really fascinating.
Dude,
but then
absolutely.
again, that also goes back to artists and designers trying to hide in their secrets a little bit.
Yeah,
it's just, they think they're so special with it, but they're not.
This open book thing is going to just keep growing and growing, and eventually it's going to be kind of the norm, I feel like, to be able to see what someone's doing or how someone did something, and people are going to be like, you weren't able to see that before? That's ridiculous. Like, it's going to seem like a ludicrous notion that every picture you saw, you had no idea how someone created it.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to be like, God, that sounds like a horrible time, you know? Like,
well, I think there's like a big misconception that a lot of people don't know that every photo's touched up.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Do you think people still don't know that these days, though?
Dude,
that's a little...
I talked to a lot of people who are like, oh, I don't think they touched up. I'm like, dude, every photo that's ever been published has been edited. Even the ones that look vintage, they're edited.
Yeah.
They might not be completely manipulated. Like, they're not like bringing people in and out, but they're definitely touched up.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the extent of your knowledge of what touched up means, but it's brought into Photoshop and they work it. That's just common. Like, everyone does that because you're trying to match branding, you're trying to fit a visual style, and that the best way you do it is to take it into Photoshop and just do it.
Yeah, well, people do that with literally every medium of every media. why would they not do it with photos? They do it with video, they do it with audio. Like what isn't being touched up?
What isn't being touched up? And then
Nothing.
you have to ask the question, like, how much is too much touch up?
Yeah, exactly. So you want to, I think, because especially, again, we always talk about authenticity, but authenticity is too important to what people care about these days and just kind of the integrity of art. And I think that you can chop stuff up like crazy, but there has to be some level of authenticity. And whether you get that by a lack of editing or just by kind of the overall feel of the piece, there needs to be some there. But you can ruin that through editing. A lot of times people try to chop stuff off. It's hard because especially if you're doing like podcasts or something that's not as much of a creative thing and more of an informational thing, you might feel the need to leave some authentic stuff in. But I think actually with podcasts and educational videos, that's one of the best times to cut kind of all the fat.
I agree.
All the fat and leave the good content in.
Yeah, like when Nick says something sexist and racist, we have to cut that out. We can't leave that in here.
Yeah, sexist and racist seems to honestly be the kind of the thing that comes up over and over. Not on this podcast, for God's sake. No, never. No, but when people are talking about podcasts and what we won't allow if it does come up is basically sexism and racism. Those are the kind of the two things.
Yeah,
it's like, well, but that honestly that never happens. It's more boring shit, lulls, silence, ramblings that go nowhere, talking about stuff that no one knows or cares about.
Yeah.
And it's just like we're trying to create quality content and you don't need a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, well, you're thinking about your audience too at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
What does your audience care about? What do they not care about? And you got to trim it up just like how you apply it to LinkedIn for one way, for Instagram the other way.
Yeah.
You got to make sure it works for the audience. But again, if it sounds too choppy or like too random, then you got to take that into consideration. If it's shit, maybe you shouldn't put it out.
Dude, did you know that Instagram and Facebook are like already changing their shit? And you probably saw that.
Oh, dude, talk about that.
Because of Zuckerberg.
Please.
So I work for a dispensary called Cola Cove, and the Instagram got deleted. May or may not have been because of my own social media work. So I made a new one. And all of a sudden, so Hootsuite is a platform that you use to manage multiple social media networks at once. And so what I would do is I would write posts that would be posted to Instagram and Facebook at the same time. Once the Instagram got deleted, I had to make a new one, but that was the same day that Hootsuite decided to implement changes because of all the Zuckerberg stuff.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you couldn't do almost any of the things that you were able to previously do with Hootsuite in relation to Facebook or Instagram.
Like what?
Because Hootsuite was like, honestly, Hootsuite, and I didn't use any of this stuff. We didn't use any of this stuff, but you have the ability to basically say, where is someone right now? What are they, and are they tagging anything related to our company or our site or whatever? And can we comment on their stuff or get their attention somehow? So they won't allow you to do that anymore, which makes sense because this is a whole invasion of privacy thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, we weren't, I never did anything like that because I didn't get that far or really need to. I was just trying to post like little ads, but posting ads in the marijuana business is risky, and Instagram
you also
doesn't necessarily like it.
You weren't like doing the paid ads. You were just doing posts that were ads.
Just posts. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were just doing it. So anyways, I'm using Hootsuite to manage Instagram and Facebook. The Zuckerberg stuff comes up. You can't do any of that Instagram stuff anymore. But not only that, couldn't even post to Instagram from Hootsuite directly. It'll just bring up the post on your phone, on your app as a notification and be like, hey, you're supposed to post this to Instagram. And you're like, yeah, I know. And it's like, all right, well, let's go to Instagram together. Are you sure you're on the right one? And you're like, yeah. And it's like, okay, we brought up the photo there. Huh?
Were you notified?
Yeah, I got a notification.
Through email, like, hey.
No, just on my phone, just a little pop-up.
Like, we deleted your stuff and that's it.
No, you're talking about for Cola Cove getting deleted. No notification. No
Really,
notification. It was just gone. No one even realized for like a day or two. Yeah, straight up. I just see what I got the notifications I got were from Hootsuite saying, "Hey, we can't post to Instagram, and we're not sure why."
It was gone.
Because it was gone.
I can't believe they wouldn't tell you or acknowledge.
Well, you know what? I didn't check the email, so it could have been.
Yeah, because you didn't like create it. Someone else created it.
Yeah, exactly.
Huh.
I mean, I have access to it. I could check it, but I didn't. So it's a lot harder to do any of the Hootsuite, because Hootsuite was like honestly made kind of for Twitter, and Twitter's dying out. So Hootsuite's hurting a little because of it. And then, but the fact that it brought in Instagram stuff recently made it more worth using. And now you can't do Instagram on it anymore. So it's kind of just like.
That's good they brought in Instagram. Because
Yeah, definitely.
When I first started using Hootsuite, it was no Instagram. I'm
Yep.
like, well, Twitter's not that important.
Yeah.
Was it? Do they do Facebook?
Yeah, they do Facebook.
Yeah.
But it's like but Facebook has its own like Hootsuite setup. So it's kind of like, do I even care about using Hootsuite for Facebook if Facebook's gonna let me schedule posts?
There are like other automation softwares that you could post through. You could do emails, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram was always the tricky one. But I mean, that's like that's like HubSpot. You know, like HubSpot's like a pretty serious marketing automation software that's spendy, but it's still pretty good.
What's it called?
HubSpot.
Oh, yeah.
No,
well, Hootsuite gets spendy fast. How spendy is HubSpot spendier?
Yeah, it's spendier.
Dang. Hootsuite's like tier 1, $10 a month. Tier 2, $500 a month. You're like, whoa, what happened? It's not that
because
extreme.
This one has
pretty
like
intense.
This one has like email, where you can like send email to thousands of people.
Yeah.
And I guess there's also like MailChimp. I'll have to show it to you because it's different. It's cool though.
Yeah. See, I would like to use Hootsuite. If I had a plan set up, I would use Hootsuite because I manage so many accounts. And if you're managing, and not just across social media platforms, but within them, like I manage 4 Facebook pages now. It's a nightmare. And Hootsuite can be nice for that, but it's just rare that I have my plan set up. You would need your plan set up for each company, like by the time you sat down. And if you don't have that, then you might as well just go to each Facebook page individually and post that stuff. Mm-hmm. But you can schedule stuff if you had an afternoon where you're like, all right, I know I want to post all these ads this week. You can just set them all up, or no ads, but posts. Set all these posts up this week, and you can post them throughout the week. It is nice. It's a great way to save some time. I've saved a ton of time doing it. Definitely highly recommend scheduling posts if you can figure out a way to do it.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone who's in marketing knows this stuff. I mean, there's also like Pardot, Acton, Salesforce. I think has I haven't used Salesforce, but I think they have the same content scheduling. But yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, Hootsuite also has auto scheduling too, and I don't know how good it is, but saves you even more time
based on like metrics of activity within your audience.
Yeah, and when they think it will be the most effective in general.
That's good.
Yeah. Anyways, anything else you wanted to add?
Oh. I don't know what that was. All right. Anyways, I think this is a shorter podcast, but I think it's still interesting information for whoever hears it. That being said, that's it.
Yeah. Have a good one, guys.
Bye.
We'll see you next week.
See you later.
Out. This hair is just so fucking. I think it looks fine though. I mean, what do you think, Nick?
You look beautiful.